Hi parents, this is Furley with the Family Support Ministry. Today I'm going to talk about a concern that's been brought up again and again, and that is screen time. Screen time battles have been a parent issue long before the pandemic hit. And now that we're in pandemic times with school, play, socializing, and even parents working from home, our new dependence on screen time has been a real hurdle in your homes. Well, I'm here today to give you some hope, and that is that you can parent your kids through this time and guide them to set healthy screen time boundaries for themselves. And I'm going to give you the words that you can use with your kids and with yourself when it comes to screen time. And those are this: technology is a tool to help you get things done. The way that we're going to do that, especially with our kids, is from what I like to call a tiered tech time framework. With the tiered tech time framework, I like to use the illustration of a funnel. When you think of a funnel, it's usually in the shape of a V. For this tiered tech time framework, we use an upside down funnel where we give the kids screen time restrictions that gradually get lifted over time. I like to use a tiered level system with different levels of restriction for each tier, almost like a cake. So in the first tier, it's direct supervision. In the direct supervision tier, that's usually for our youngest kiddos, and they usually can't hold a device on their own or operate it on their own. So in this stage, parents need to be with their kids hand in hand, eyes, hands, and ears on the device with their kids at the same time. This is a great way for you to introduce technology to your kids, and usually it's with learning apps or videos or even pictures of family, but it's a great way for kids to learn what technology is, and they're soaking everything up. They're looking at each swipe, each tap, and they learn really quickly how to use these devices. In the next tier, it's indirect supervision. This is more for school-age kids who can hold a device and operate it just a little bit. They can't fully operate the device, but they can get to what they need. They can get to their game, or they can get to the video that they want to see. In this stage, parents, you should have ears and eyes on the device, but you can be a little bit more hands-off. In this stage, a parent's job is to have eyes on the device with the kids most of the time and teaching kids what they're seeing as they see it. So a lot of times these games have ads. It's a great time for parents to say, oh, here's an ad for a game. This company wants us to buy this app. And it's a great way for you to kind of guide your kids onto, this is what a commercial is, this is how we use it or not use it. And then we move on to the next tier. And in the next tier, we're going to see a shift. This shift is called discussed independence. Discussed independence is for our older kids. These kids, for the most part, can operate a device pretty independently and sometimes even surpass the knowledge of their parents. In this stage, this is a great place to have a discussion with your kids around screen time limits. This is where you want to say, this is how much screen time we're allowed to have during playtime, and this is how much screen time we're going to have for school. Setting those screen time limits is important, but also as important after this discussion is setting the screen time limits that are on your device settings. This will do two things. First, it diffuses arguments right from the outset, and it also requires parents to approve additional screen time or screen time that happens outside your normal range. At this point, a parent's job is to have ears listening often and eyes glancing occasionally. This is a great time to teach your kids about healthy boundaries. And it's a great example to set to say that technology is a tool that we use to get things done. And with a lot of tools, once they're done being used, they're put away. So throughout the day, there's school, there's play, there's family time. And technology can be a great asset for each of those times, but it's important that we make sure that they put them away when it's all done. The last tier is the agreed independence. This is for our teenagers who carry their own device and operate it independently. In this stage, I highly recommend parents use a tech use contract with their teen. It builds upon what's discussed screen time is, because they're now going to be using it on their own, most likely outside of your presence. So having them understand what the responsibilities are that go along with the privilege of having a device is going to be really important. And it'll help them in the future to kind of manage their own screen time as adults. At this stage, along with the contract, you should be setting screen-free time, such as around the dinner table, we don't have screens, or as a family, we don't keep devices in our rooms overnight. Having those intentional screen-free times will really help your teenager to navigate tech time and real-life engagement. And sometimes, because I know it's really easy for them to get caught up in their devices and in their screen time world that involves school and socializing and friends, it's really important for them to be able to know how to disengage and do to it under your wing, so that when they're off on their own, they can do it on their own. So what's a parent to do? If you're feeling like you have to backpedal, or that you haven't actually been following some of these guidelines that have been put forth on this video, please give yourself grace. Don't feel bad about where you are, but understand that these are unprecedented times. There has been no generation of parents that's going through what we're going through, so it's important to have grace because this is new for everyone. And the best approach that we can take is to have open discussions with our kids. Things like, hey, this is really new. We're having to be on our screens for everything now, but I think we can do better. Let's try to set boundaries for ourselves. Let's try to have intentional family time. Let's make the most of this time by doing X, Y, and Z. I want to encourage you parents, you can parent your kids through this time and guide them to set healthy boundaries for themselves. Remember, technology is a tool to help us get things done. And be encouraged. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not become weary for doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." We'll see you next time.